Hello, everybody. Today's story will be Trevor Serves Breakfast by Orphan Account. A decade of mourning, Michael Tanley allowed his memories to mold him into a hero that made Michael DeSanta in the kitchen nothing but an empty shell. But now his love was molding a new Michael in the same kitchen, right before his eyes. Trevor stood in the kitchen, his shoulders slumped and head bent forward as he cooked on the stove, a relaxed air to his slim frame. His hand shook the pan gently to stop the pan and to stop the bacon sticking and burning, while his other pushed back the little hair he had left and ran through his mustache. He hadn't bothered with the ex he hadn't bothered with the extractor fan, so the gentle waft of meaty smoke spiraled out of the glass doors to the poolside, like a series of ghostly snakes weaving around the kitchen furniture. The DeSanta household was quiet these days. Trevor noticed that now with nothing but the sizzling oil and distant traffic to hear. Almost 4 years since the family had left. All that was left was Trevor and the sleeping beauty upstairs. They had found their own routine that worked well for them, relaxed, effortless, and dreamlike for Michael, wild enough for Trevor, yet with the stability and love that he craved, available here whenever he needed. He continued with the 4 strips of bacon in the pan until they were almost crispy, before dumping them on a plate and adding butter to fry 4 more. 2 eggs sizzled in a pan beside it, flipping them quickly before splatting them up as well to keep the yolks runny. He had hash browns and potato waffles cooking in the oven with some sausages too. Who would have thought Trevor could have been such a domestic goddess? It was in this kitchen they had at first met Michael DeSanta. Trevor felt anger, frustration, sadness, regret. He was different, older, more wrinkled, sun-damaged skin, Los Santos slick-backed hair compared to the Yankton buzz cuts, thicker arms and calves, chunkier chest and hips, weary eyes, hollow heart, exhausted soul. A decade of mourning, Michael Townley allowed his memories to mold him into a hero that made Michael DeSanta in that kitchen nothing but an empty shell. But now his love was molding a new Michael in the same kitchen right before his eyes. The family was gone, and now Michael was his. The kids could text and call and visit all they wanted, and they did every now and then. But Trevor had dissented to himself, and he was damned if he would let him get away this time. His ears perked up as he heard footsteps from above. His body deftly moved around the kitchen, preparing for the anticipated arrival. The coffee machine whirred, the timer on the oven bleeped, the bacon hissed loudly. He could hear a foot pad down on the first step, foot out of the oven onto the plate, coffee out of the pot, and into the mug. Creamer scooped by a spoon into the mug. Repeat again and again. Stir with the spoon. Reach for the ketchup. Reach for the mayo. Put them on the kitchen island in front of the chair. Pull out a clean knife and fork. Check the bacon. Load onto the full plate. 8 bacon rashers. 4 hash browns. 3 potato waffles. 4 sausages. 2 eggs. Put the plate in front of the chair. Make another coffee for yourself. Trevor wiped his hands on his white shirt. Yeah, it said a lot about how much he had changed. That the only stains were from blood he had cooked for someone else. That the only stains were from food he had cooked for someone else. Maybe he would be splattered in blood soon, but that would be for a few hours, 12 at most, before he came back where he was loved and needed, so needed. The footsteps had reached the ground floor. Trevor could almost hear a slight wheeze, a small smile. Hey, sugar, Trevor called. Hungry? Always. He leaned back against the kitchen counter as he watched his Michael enter the room. His Michael, not Amanda's, not Solomon's, not Los Santos's, Trevor's. The Michael he found and saved, made him how he wanted him. Michael's steps were heavy, as was he. Long behind him were the days of robbing banks and running from cops. It had taken him 4 years to eat himself to this point. It would take a lot longer to exercise his way back. Thicker, whiter, heavier, every pound added was a pound Trevor had wanted. Each pound was a surprise to him, a disgust to others, and a delight to Trevor. His face was pleasantly plumped, looking softer and rounder without those harsh cheekbones, sturdy jaw complemented by a second chin, wrapping into his thick neck. His arms were wide and soft, his chest was full, chubby, prominent. What was once love handles and middle-aged paunch was now decadent belly, hanging over the waistband of his boxers, undulating and jiggling shamelessly with his steps. It was soft, luxurious, rich in plush fat that had gathered and stuck, pushing out ahead of him, providing a shelf for his tits to rest on. His hips were dimpled, flabby, and voluminous. Thighs like tree trunks, stocky and wide. His calves had lost their definition and were rounded out. His feet spread wide to carry his weight, north of 300 pounds. His frame shifted as he plodded forward. His walking was good, if not a little slow, thanks to his globular ass that worked hours a day, keeping him comfortable on the couch. His thick fingers plucked at the waistband of his boxers. His figure shook gently as he took his steps and approached the bar stool at the kitchen island. A few shifts, he pulled himself onto it, flashing Trevor a grin as he leant forward to rest his elbows on the counter. Ready for breakfast, Mikey? Trevor asked, leaning forward too. His semi-strained and his cargo pants aroused that Michael's body and everything he'd do to it. Sure am, you got real good at cooking, T. You don't have to tell me, he muttered in reply, pushing the loaded plate close to his lover. He, he grabbed a coffee with the creamer, dropping in 2 zero-cal sweetener tablets and no sugar. No sugar for you. We gotta watch away, East Cupcake. Michael laughed a little, reaching to take a sip of his sweet, creamy coffee before digging into the fried food with a grin. Trevor watched intently, sipping from his own black coffee. Every mouthful and every movement set Trevor's mind aflame. It had taken him a long time to release almost all of his life. The constant insults he dealt out, shouting profanities at the obese in the streets, mocking and laughing. He's always teased Michael for the softness on his body since they were kids. It had always caught his attention. Michael's pecs drew an attentiveness from Trevor. He always fastened he was always fascinated by his friend's form. Little did he know it was because of something bigger. The Michael DeSanta he met in this kitchen was fatter than his Michael Townley, but not in a good way. His softness was from alcohol abuse, depression, and a lack of love. It was from neglect and disregard. Michael Townley's body was not something to be neglected. It was a temple worthy of worship that showed on his Michael. Sat eating now. Now he deserved all the nicknames. Pork chop, sugar tits, cupcake, big boy, chubby, atomic Mike, butterball. The latter ones were new. The process has been exciting. Cooking some meals and ordering pizza while Michael mourned his marriage. It took a while, but Trevor's support helped solidify their renewed friendship and bring him closer. He'd spent days at the house, then weeks. The kids were amused when their father's figure matched. That's Jimmy's. Their father's figure matched Jimmy's. They were shocked when he outgrew him not long after. Trevor would buy him sized up clothes from his Ponzi suit shops and boutiques. Until he realized they only sold 2XL and Beanco. Fashion would have to be sacrificed. At least Michael spent most of his days on the couch these days. Amanda had laughed, then been alarmed, then concerned. Tried to help her blimping ex, but fuck her. She never treasured Michael and his body like Trevor did. He hung around behind him, arms waving to hug Michael from behind as he filled himself up. A few glances at his ass, that beautiful lardy ass that was spilling either side of the bar stool. It couldn't be comfy for long. As soon as he was finished, my Trevor would have to whisk him away to the couch. He couldn't have his Michael feeling uncomfortable. His head rested on Michael's meaty shoulder, watching each forkful of food that was lifted up and swallowed. I've got some plans this morning. I'll be back by lunch. That alright? He hummed softly. Yeah, sure, muttered through a mouthful of pork and mayonnaise. Got a new movie to watch. Of course he did. Trevor smiled contentedly. You want me to make you some popcorn? Absolutely. He nodded, wiping his greasy chin with the back of his chubby hand. How'd you get these eggs to taste so good, T? You don't want to know. You don't want to know, sunshine. When the food was finished, Michael lay down on the couch, his feet up on the ottoman, arms outstretched, a bowl of popcorn to one side of it, and a bottle of cola on the other. He hummed, a hand rubbing his stuffed gut softly, eyes flickering. Need, need some help there, pork chop? Huh? Trevor couldn't hide his wicked grin, watching from the archway. He had every intention to go sort out his business, but Michael looked like a god who needed worshipping right now. Please, T, Michael grunted, fat arms falling to his sides as he sighed aloud, exhausted from his breakfast. Mm. Here, I know a cure. His face, his voice betrayed his eagerness. Standing in front of Michael and getting to his knees, I know what will help. A low, sultry growl. He leaned to lift the hanging portion of Michael's beautiful belly to press his lips to his engorged member. Slow, deliberate movements of his mouth against Michael's cock, his belly resting on Trevor's head now. As he moved up and down, tongue snaking like the smoke had done before, swirling, licking, sucking his tongue, teasing his balls. All the while, Michael moaned and panted for breath. An act of passion, love, and worship, Trevor had crafted this Michael who was demanding yet helpless, hedonistic and impulsive. His hypocritical snake was shrouded in fat. He could no longer wriggle and writhe. Only loving care. He could eat and drink, and sleep and fuck. He was perfect, beautiful, everything Trevor had wanted. His Michael was well fed, and Trevor did the feeding. They had never been so happy. This afternoon's fan fiction will be Trevor serves dessert by orphan account. I'm too fat. Trevor's ears perked up as he lifted his shoulders off the pillow. He was lying on Michael's bed, only wearing his underwear, answering some emails as Michael got changed in the walk-in wardrobe. It had been a while since Michael had gone shopping for the groceries with him, but Trevor was determined to force him with him. What, Mikey? I'm too fat. I'm too fucking fat. The reply from the wardrobe came, hoarse-sounding voice with a sense of desperation. Fuck! Whoa, hey, come talk to me, sugar. Hey, hey, can't talk to me, sugar. There was a quiet moment, only filled with huffing and heavy breathing in the wardrobe, before Michael waddled out. His thick, plush thighs rubbed against each other, boxer shorts riding up his legs. With each step, it was amazing how much fat had added to his frame recently. His belly hung over his waistband, wobbling and jostling for space with his meaty legs. There was no word for it other than decadent. In an unabashed display of his gluttonous habits and his partner's lustful encouragement. A symbol of excessive wealth and sloth, his own greed and fixation on pleasure. His tits sat atop, wrapping around from his back. Under his arms, to sprawl lazily across his chest, fat chin covered his neck. Slopping shoulders led to huge, saggy arms that just hung limply. He pushed out from his sides by his ever-expanding midsection. There was a look of hopelessness in his eyes, like he had just woken up and found himself imprisoned in layers of fat and pudge. A blush spread from his round cheeks, up to his ears and down to his blobby neck. So, Michael has became basically neckless. No neck. You look fine to me, sugar tits, Trevor said, watching every inch of Michael closely and telling the truth. So much more to play with, to touch, to love. You look the same as always. Michael was huffing, a little out of breath as he turned around slowly, flat, puffy feet trudged in a small half circle to show Trevor his ass. Luxurious cheeks had been growing and swelling with lard with each moment he sat on the couch, which was most of the time. His love handles melted in as his back fat rested on top of his ass shelf. Blue striped boxers covered the dimples and rivets of cellulite. Apart from, oh, I see what you mean, cowboy. There was a rip, frayed seams and threads hanging loose, a gash in the boxers that exposed his deep ass crack. Even with the rip, they still looked like the fabric was pulled tight, waist bent, digging into a soft, jiggly flesh. Michael's voice was a little hoarse. I'm too fat for my underwear, Trevor. These are my biggest pair. He shifted uncomfortably, Billy shuddering as he turned around to face Trevor again. He looked at him, sitting up on the bed as his arms propped up under his slender torso. He felt a prickle in his gut, cock twitching at the sight Michael had shown him, feeling lustful and hungry for him. Hey, you're not too fat. The pants are just too small, he replied, eagerly leaning forward, eyes glinting like a starved wolf. I can get you some more. No worries, Mikey. That's not the point, T. I'm huge. I can't believe I got this fat in the first place. It's disgusting. I gotta lose weight before I'm a real whale, Michael protested, fat on his arms, jostling as he gesticulated wildly. I can't do this anymore, whatever this is, he gestured between the two of them. Whoa, Cupcake, chill out. Trevor laughed a little, finding it hard to take Michael seriously when his blubber made him so squishy and soft to look at. Don't be silly. You don't have to lose weight. You're doing fine. And we both know how much you love to eat. He got off the bed and onto his feet in one swooping motion, a skinny, scarred, tattooed hand reaching to rest on Michael's belly. There's one pair of pants that don't fit you, so what? There's plenty more that will. A gentle shake of the fat. Trevor felt his own cock hardening. You love, you love, you love food too much to go on a diet. You like being pampered. Ain't that right, big boy? Michael muffled a hum of agreement, watching Trevor's hands pawing at his adipose. And you love pampering me too much to stop. Trevor grunted his reply, his semi pushing into Michael's flabby hanging belly. Oh, absolutely. Let's get you weighed, so I know that size underpants to get. He nodded in agreement, although his face was a little pale. He had already been stood up for so long, wrestling with his clothing, that the idea of his poor knees having to carry him into the bathroom made him feel weak, applaud forward, his belly crashing against his thighs as they rubbed. Tits wobbling. Tits wobbling? He's a titty wobbler. Titty wobbler. His joints crying out for relief. For relief. Titty wobbler. Man titty wobbler. I'll bring the scale in here. Take a seat, Mikey. Trevor noticed the look on his face and spoke with a purr. Michael, so tired after doing nothing, was really a luxurious sight to see. A few minutes passed, and Trevor returned to the marital bedroom with the scale and some food, giving Michael a wink as he sat down a huge chocolate pie on the dresser, along with some snacks. He put the scale on the floor, reaching to help Michael to his feet from his perch on the edge of the bed. Fat body undulating a heavy step. The silence was thick as they waited for the number to settle. 378, 384, 399. It hit 399 and stopped. I think it says error, Michael said softly, pulling his belly out of the way, having to step off to read the number. Did I outgrow the scale? No, the scale just got too small, Mikey, that's all. Trevor muttered, his hands reaching out for Michael's hips. So they had reached the 400 mark and not even noticed. His skin flushed hot, erection straining at his own pants as he examined the hole in the back of Michael's boxers. Perfectly situated. Do I have to keep standing? My knees are tired. Michael let out a whine, sticking a finger into one of his deep rolls to scratch. Damn, and he, uh-oh. Ain't he a roll scratcher? Trevor growled, unable to hide his lust any longer. You can lie down, butterball. His hands roamed, squeezing the back roll with a smile. I want you to eat all of this chocolate pie. This talk of diets got me worried you might try and starve yourself. Don't you know it's really unhealthy to lose weight in wrong ways? He put the pie on the pillow, encouraging Michael to lie on his stomach. What a sight to behold! Michael's ripped boxers were center stage, tight around his hips, and stretched thinly over his giant ass. His legs were spread apart as his hanging belly snug in between them, battling his bloated thighs for space. Back rolls gathered, sitting on top of love handles, creases in his chubby neck, swollen, blubbery joints. The back of his head is small in comparison to his fat body. His tits kept his face elevated. All his arms had to do was bring the cake to his mouth and repeat. A rumble from his stomach. You're such a good lardass, Trevor moaned, encouraging Michael to start eating. Such a good dumb bit. Such a good dumb pig. My passion project. He tugged off his briefs, massaging his erect cock in his hand. As he looked down at his partner, he listened to the sounds for a moment, chewing, swallowing, gluttony, decadent cake. Then he worked his hand on his dick, reaching for some lube, to press up against Michael's ass crack, right where the rib in his boxers allowed entry. Trevor's head rolled back from arousal before he had even pushed in from the eroticism of the action. Thank you, Michael's appetite. A few moments filled with the sounds of Michael eating pie with his fingers and Trevor panting in arousal. Then he pushed in, penetrating a thick layer of ass cheek before he penetrated Michael's asshole. A piggish whine, Michael whimpered in delight through a mouth of cake of chocolate. He was so used to this that his hands kept feeding his mouth, offering the next mouthful before he had a chance to swallow the last. Trevor's cock rocked delightfully inside him, his hot balls embedded in his fat ass. Each thrust making Michael wobble a little more. Keep eating, piggy. I want you to finish it all. Can't have you waste away now, lard ass. Trevor cried out, grabbing hold of love handles to pull himself deeper. Gonna get you full, pig, from both ends. Michael's cock was stuck under his fat pad, which spilled out behind him when he was trapped on his front. He could feel it throb and moisten, but was helpless to move or even touch it. Luckily, he could keep his focus on eating this pie as Trevor plowed into him. His big frame shook with every thrust and hump. The bed springs moaned almost as loud as he did. God, you're so beautiful. A mountain of fuckable blubber. Fuck, Mikey. I can't believe you got so unbelievably fat. Trevor was shouting, slamming his trim hips into Michael's lardy backside. Look, look at you jiggle. Look how much you shake. God, I love you. They both panted for breath. Michael's boxers ripped beyond repair. Fuck pork chop. You're just a big hunk of love, fatso? Michael's reply was muffled as he glutted himself with his calorific pie. His hands sticky and brown, chocolate smeared across his chins. His ass felt raw, burning as Trevor plowed deeper and deeper, both of them slick with sweat. God, he had to find his cock. Desperately, Michael stuck a hand under his belly to dig for his leaking erection, winning with each of Trevor's thrusts. Even with his arm fully extended, there was no way he would be able to reach under his hanging belly in the first place, let alone through the fat pad that had grown under it. Hey, I still see half a pie left, chubby, Trevor called, noticing his pig taking a break. You need help? A whine. Michael nodded with desperation. Please, Trev, some help. His fat fingers wingled helplessly under his belly, his dick trapped. Trevor pulled his cock out of Michael's ass with a moan, his pre-cum and sweat making the area slick and sticky. His hands clasped two thick rolls of fat that sat atop the waistband of the boxers. He tugged to push Michael over. "Come on, pig, you need to help me out here." It took a few attempts to flip Michael onto his back, his belly making it twice as hard and getting in the way. "Fuck, pork chop, you look so good right now, you have no idea," Trevor muttered, his hands exploring the vast landscape of his body, rolls and flabby fat sinking downwards, tits falling to the sides, belly wide and sprawling, covering his hips and the top inches of his legs. He straddled, poking his cock deep into Michael's belly folds with a moan. "I ain't gonna eat itself, big guy," he panted, picking up the aluminum tray to place on Michael's chest. The way Trevor straddled him pushed down on his fat pad and thigh fat, applying pressure to his cock every time he thrust. Michael was being jerked off by his own fat, his eyes rolling back in pleasure. His sausage fingers found their way to the pie that sat on his tits, lifting up the remaining half as if it was a big slice of pizza, chopping down on the chocolate middle with an ecstatic moan. "Fuck, so good." He breathed as Trevor humped his belly. Trevor is a fucking belly humper. Trevor's hands took hold of the pie slice, waiting for Michael to finish his mouthful before pushing it in to his gob with a grunt. "Shit, you're so hot, so hopeless and hot." He pushed in a little more as Michael tried to eat fast enough. "I'm addicted to you like you're addicted to food. Look at you, messy pig." His hips pumped, fucking Michael's rolls. "Roll, fucker." "Helpless fucking glutton." As the pie was finished, Trevor shifted the straddle further up, looking down at Michael, whose eyes were glazing over and was wheezing for breath. Such a big pie so quickly. Trevor had never felt more aroused. "Open your mouth, Porky. Time for dessert." It was met with some whines and moans and wheezes, but eventually Michael managed to pull his chocolate-coated lips apart. As the tip of Trevor's cock pushed in, a moan in delight. He started slowly before holding Michael's sweaty hair to control the pace, rocking in and out. "Fuckable lump," he gasped. He gasped, feeling Michael's tongue push up against his tip. A few years ago, there was no way Michael would be giving him head so obediently and willingly. Trevor had fed him into a desperate, horny, submissive pig. His clothes didn't fit it anymore. He was unbelievably lazy, spending all his time being fucked or eating. He wouldn't even mind if Michael never wore clothes again, either access for him to do whatever he pleased. Dumb, horny pig. Trevor's climax came soon, his muscles tensing, pulling Michael's hair tight, his thighs squeezing Michael's tits together, his hips thrust, fucking his mouth, letting out a loud cry of delight. "Fuck yeah, fuck Michael, I love you." Fat jiggled as he thrusted fast. He came heavily, a shuddering moan. Michael swallowed, not even leaving a trace behind. He panted, out of breath, struggling to shift back a bit on the bed so he could sit to his breathe. his eyes closed, exhausted and full of pie, ready to nap until his next meal. An arm reached out for Trevor. "You finished?" he asked, his hands trying to lift up his belly to find his cock, finding instead a sticky mess between his legs. "Jesus, you just came in your boxers. I think it's time we threw them away." Trevor purred, moving the paw of Michael's tits. "You're so sexy, fatso. I love you." Michael grunted, nodding and puckering his lips a little for a kiss. "Love you too." He kissed. He kissed he kissed softly, laying on the plush mattress that was Michael's belly. A hand stayed on his tits, the other reaching to brush through his hair affectionately. "Wanna come shopping? We need a bunch of stuff now." He kissed him again on the lips, chubby cheeks, double chin. Nah, I'll stay here." Michael's knees begged not to lug his weight around the store. "You can use a shopping scooter, and we can drive through some bleeder burgers as your reward for finishing that pie." "I guess I can come," Michael blushed, nodding eagerly as long as he could find some clothes that wouldn't rip. Thank y'all for watching.